each armed with our little toilet paper rolls. Show me your toilet paper roll, dear.
I have a fresh one.
We're pushing through like MJ going for 45. We're doing the show with the flu, dear.
We don't even have the flu. It's like the weird air conditioning cold that you get because no one ever cleans out their air conditioning ducts, and so when it finally starts up, it just blows all that crap.
AC gives you sniffles.
Oh, big time. And let's just say, being in the bottom floor, we don't need it as much, but it gets blown in. You can't close your stuff enough to make it possible.
I'm going to get into the rundown of the show here stuff before we kind of talk about the week that was. In the Gratcast section, we're going to talk about the theme of July, which is the Gratwick Expanded Universe. And then for our main topic this week, Andrea has decided she wants to debate me on smoking live on Gratcast. So
yeah, we'll do that debate in a second. I'm double checking sound though, because last week nobody told us that we had weird double echo going.
Yeah, I had the audio coming in twice there and created a little bit of a reverb. So we fixed that. Right off the top of the show here, anyone that's been listening along for the last couple of weeks knows that I made a new Instagram friend that actually started with a little Twitter Buffalo Bills sports beef. Well, it turns out this week that my new Instagram buddy, I'm not going to mention his name in the air because I don't have his permission, didn't ask him.
That's polite not to.
But he retired from 31 years as a Buffalo police officer this past week. And
wow.
Want to say congratulations and thank you for your service for 31 years on the force. He's got some stories to tell that I'm hoping to get out of him over the years of our friendship ahead. But in the meantime, I'm really hoping that he gets puppy and shares some of that love and time that he's going to have on his hands with a new dog, because part of what we bonded over was he took it real hard when he lost his dog recently in the past couple months, and he can't bring himself to get another dog. But I think
you have to get another dog. Yeah. You have to. Like, there's a reason why your parents always got another one quickly after you had to put the old dog down. You kind of need that in your family, and it gives you a reason to go.
I believe there's one great dog for each stage in your life. Like, we had Kelly growing up as kids, and that was the family dog that I had to fight for. Now we've got Bear here, and God forbid someday when Bear's time's going to come, that's when you get the old man dog, the little pug, or the beagle,
no.
or
we're never getting a small dog. We're never getting a small dog.
Well, then you got to stop smoking so you're around long enough to matter, so I don't need to get the old man beagle.
We're never getting a small dog.
Well, then...
No, we're not small dog people, we're big dog people.
Better stop smoking now. So
dude, you can't just start laying down rules.
All right. Well, we'll get there.
We will get there.
All right. Anything else exciting happened to you this week, dear, that you want to share or dive into?
Worked a little bit more this week.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Got my first paychecks.
Ooh,
that was very nice.
That was a happy day.
That was a very happy day. Waited very patiently, but yay, they came in. So bills are getting paid. That's incredible. Yay.
Helps, keeps the Gratcast on.
Julie came back from her vacation, so we have her back in the canyon. That's always exciting.
It's always good to have the Julie back.
Any Julie time.
Interesting things happened to you this week that you want to talk about? It's okay if the answer is a no.
No.
Okay.
Nothing interesting.
All right, well, before we get into our main topics, I have one big Netflix tip that I'd like to share, and I want to back that up with a second Netflix recommendation just to show you that this isn't a fluke. We know good under the radar shows here. So Andrea and I have been watching the new season, and we watched the previous seasons before, but the new season of a show called 3% on Netflix. I'm telling you, you haven't watched it yet. You probably came across it and skipped over it. It's a fantastic show. And I'm going to tell you right out of the gate that it's I think it's made in like South America. Is that somewhere? Would you say that's kind of where it's shot?
It's in South America.
It's shot in South America, and it's in a foreign language, but it has American voiceovers. And
it's a little weird because there are as voiceovers. There are moments when obviously it takes longer for you to say it in English or in Spanish or Portuguese, whichever it is, whatever country it is down in South America. But so the lips are still going sometimes, or not going.
But the crazy part is, I would typically be a huge snob on something like this. Like, no way in hell, I'm not watching that. It's just annoying and bothersome. But the premise of the show is really damn good. The foreign actors that they have, most of them are actually really good actors, even though you're not getting the dialogue, but it's just
their facial expressions,
yeah,
how they react, instead of having to say the lines, because obviously it's the voiceover actors who are saying the lines. But they do a pretty good job of having the voices sound like what you would think the person would sound like.
So the premise of the show is there's this offshore colony that, for simplicity, is basically a breakaway civilization. They've got all sorts of technology, and it's utopia, and it's a great place to be, and everybody wants to live on the offshore. And the city, or the main population of where everybody is, it's like the slums of Rio de Janeiro or somewhere like that, where it's just a terrible city full of blight. It's overpopulated. It's sinking into the ground. There's no
infrastructure to make anything more. Like, what they have is all they have. So their clothes, when their clothes actually get holes and stuff, there's no way to make new clothes. So they just have to wear like layers, kind of thing.
So, in order to get to the offshore, every year, a little bit like the Hunger Games, there's a competition where everyone that I think it turns 20 on their 20th birthday, they
go through the process.
The process.
The process.
And the process is all these grueling psychological tests and pitting each other against each other, and just all these...
Finding the best of the best.
Yes.
Who could survive if the absolute worst happens, or if you're needed to. And
3% of every group that goes through the process makes it to the offshore. And we're now into, there's 3 seasons of it so far. And the dynamics of it, the story structure, the twists and the turns, the people that are conflicted on which side they're on, because there's all these people so the way I've kind of hypothesized it is...
Don't give anything away, though.
Is 3% of the 3% that ultimately make it to the offshore are emotionally vested in trying to help everybody else that isn't on the offshore. So
that's on the inland.
Yeah, they're trying to get into the elite side and blow it up from the inside, or bring help and support back to everybody else. So they go as kind of rebels, and the offshore knows that basically 3% of the 3% are always going to be susceptible to being loyal to the rebellion. So they already, that's part of the tests and the twists and the turns of sorting everybody out, and it's a great psychological show. And the fact that we continue to watch it and binge watch it with the voiceovers of English should give a good speaking point as to how great this show actually is. And then to follow that up, the backup show recommendation is a show called Continuum. That validates that we're not lying on 3%. And that's all I'm going to say about Continuum.
There you go. It's a SyFy channel show. Originally Canadian.
Yes.
Because there is another one on Amazon that's called Continuum, but it's like shorts instead, that someone tried to do a knockoff of it, but it's not nearly as good as the original Continuum. Okay, so let's get into our calendar for July. It is now officially July 1st, and is there going to be...
No, we discussed Conan Exiles last week, and one of my beefs on the Conan Exiles is that we're censored here in the U.S. on the PlayStation networks. We don't get swinging dongs. There's no full nudity on the American version of Conan Exiles. Not happy about that. But no, last week we...
Really? Because you want to see swinging dong? Like, that would make the game so much better for you to see, like... Would they have many different sizes of dongs depending on which character you create it? Is that going to be a criteria of how you decide?
There's a sliding scale to pick up
like, he might have thinner arms, but he's
else.
got a bigger penis. So
well, that's the bulk up. It's all proportional. You just
but
slide
if you think about it, bodybuilders have smaller penises. So wouldn't it be the bulkier you are, the teenier penis you have?
Conan slaves are not steroid abusing bodybuilders. They're overworked labor slaves. That's what makes them big and strong. See, fucking dongs is always a plus. And it's a lot more sexist if we're saying big giant hooters bouncing all over the place. So
you mean like the dancing girls currently are?
Well, no, even the girls have to cover up. We can't have them topless in Conan because, again, partial nudity. Which partial nudity would be topless for the women.
Okay, so my question, is there pubic hair?
I don't know. I've not gotten to see underneath any of these things. I don't have the foreign version
But
of the
like
game.
you'd think in the foreign version, if they're keeping it real, wouldn't everyone be hairy? Like all legs, all armpits, female, male. Like it'd be kind of a little crazy down there, right?
The graphics,
almost to the point where it takes away the fun.
The graphics aren't getting into body hair
they should.
On this Conan.
Hi, Richard.
All right, so.
Oh, it's Dylan. Hey, Dylan. Hey, honey. Good to see you.
Moving on to the
July schedule.
The July schedule, yes. So over the course of all of our different social media through July, we're going to be dropping hints and previews and information about trying to introduce everybody to the Gratwick Universe of expanded content that we have. The entire cinematic story universe that we've created under the Gratwick brand.
Okay.
So because each month we want to pick a focus point and try to share a little bit more of that information of what's going on with Gratwick. And up till now, most of the stuff we've talked about has been all the bells and whistles of the business model and the plan and all the nuts and bolts structure.
The point where we've probably bored a few people with too much technical business crap.
Too much nuts and bolts details.
A little less fun.
So this month we're going to focus on the creative content.
On the fun stuff.
And so the thing that we got shared this week on the Facebook page and I think on the Twitter as well is the first chapter to the novel Hallowed Be Thy Name. That is a series of novels that takes place at the far end of our expanded universe. So the stories are set, I'd say, between about a 500-year time frame window, give or take.
Pow!
Give or take a few hundred years.
Okay.
And the novels are the blockbuster end of the cinematic universe. So to get those stories out there now, so people can find out about and learn and embrace the universe, we're putting them out in novel form. And the first novel is called Hallowed Be Thy Name, and that chapter I shared on Wattpad. So Andrea's the one doing the editing on this novel, and it's mostly done. It's all written. We're just kind of.
Kris has been making revisions. I would like everyone to know. So if he put it up there, there are revisions made before he let me check it again. That is me covering my ass, but still.
I believe chapter 1 has been.
I believe I saw you.
Thoroughly scrutinized.
Many saw you on that thing the other day. Don't even.
So it is available and it is on there.
Mm-hmm. If you see anything, please make comments. I'll be happy to make any corrections.
Please make some comments and
I
more so.
won't take offense.
Give it a little star. The more stars it gets, the more discovery it gets, and the more strangers will hopefully see it and read it as well. So if it goes well and it's well received, then we're going to continue to share more chapters on there.
Okay, what was this thing called? It's Wattpad?
Wattpad. Wattpad. It's where all the kids
megawatts.
It's where all the kids do their reading these days, dear. The kids are on the Wattpad.
Where all the kids do their reading.
Yeah,
That sounds old man-ish, but alright.
Well, I kind of am old manish, and when their major demographic is literally under 20, these kids are growing up on Wattpad. That's where they do all of their literary reading. They're writing stories, sharing stories, finding new writers, helping new content rise in communities there.
Hey Dylan, say hey to Dylan.
Oh, we already said hi to Dylan. So moving on.
Yes.
Do you have any other thoughts on our Gratwick expanded universe here?
Well, I don't want to give away anything too much because you have a plan and I haven't seen what your rollout schedule is. So I'm allowed to tell you about Hallowed, which apparently, I believe you did tell me the other day, there are a few other people who also have something titled Hallowed Be Thy Name. Like, apparently it clicked in everyone's mind on the same time and you all were like, that's a good title. So it might have to be changed.
No.
Oh.
No. There's some other obscure content that has a similar
Don't they
name.
believe yours is just as obscure because they've never heard of yours?
Absolutely. Mine is
just making sure we're being fair.
So there's other fellow obscure content out there that has a similar name. So what it really becomes is the race to notoriety. And looking at the concepts of their stories, I have no idea whether or not those stories are good, but I do know that their stories don't click with the title as much as my story clicks with the title. Like, there's a reason it's called Hallowed Be Thy Name.
There's Christian.
And who the thy is.
Like, if they're Christian
No,
material,
they don't even. They don't. No. None of these ones that use that name had like really any kind of religious connotations in their synopsises.
Okay.
So, I'm just saying. I think I'm in the driver's seat as far as the title clicking with the content and obtaining notoriety for it. We'll see what happens from here, but the race is on.
All right.
Okay, dear. This next topic is yours. Lay the ground rules for the smoking, non-smoking debate.
I don't know what ground rules you think there should be. It's a debate.
Okay. Stop smoking.
That's not a debate. That's a declaration.
Yeah.
And that's in fact
that's
an order.
That's my opening statement.
You gave me an order. And that's...
No, it's a plea.
No, the way you said it was not a plea.
Okay, so allow me to give the backstory to bring us up to speed
Let's do backstories.
on Andrea's current smoking.
My situation.
So, Andrea and I have been together for over a decade, and Andrea smoked this entire time. Now,
did Andrea smoke before she met you?
Like I said, she smoked this entire time.
Okay,
now,
let's establish that.
She rolled her own cigarettes at first for the majority of the time that she smoked under the argument of it's more natural and they don't have all the extra chemicals of
it doesn't hurt your throat as much.
all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So fine, whatever. If you were probably like going 2 packs a day on the Marlboros, we probably would have never lasted as long as we did. So the fact you did your own little rollies made it more tolerable, let's say. But at the same time, I always hoped that at some point in time, Andrea would move beyond the cigarettes and want to be a healthier, more longevity-oriented version of herself. So
for what reason?
So we could be together for as long as possible, and you're not going to leave me in your 50s because you died of emphysema, and I got to keep going for the long haul.
Is that really the reason, Kris?
That's part of the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to retort if you believe there's a deeper reason.
I believe you want to make the incubator into perfect shape.
Yeah, I'd like to have kids too, and the window is very slim for us at our advanced ages. So anyway, on top of this, my grandfather, every time he's seen her for the entire decade that she's known my grandfather, you gotta stop smoking. You gotta stop the smoke. Tell me you're gonna stop smoking. Yes, Grandpa, stop smoking. I'm gonna stop smoking. She always told my grandpa she was gonna stop smoking.
I will eventually.
One of his dying wishes was for
oh, that is so unfair.
for Andrea to stop smoking. So
you ever have someone try and pull that dying wish when they hadn't seen you for 5 years?
5 years, Mike. Stop. Don't exaggerate. So now, fast forward to last year, Andrea actually quit smoking. Cold turkey, quit smoking, flat out. And she went months, like 6-7 months without smoking. And I made the mistake of saying, I'm so proud of you, Andrea. I'm so proud that you were able to just quit smoking and keep going with it. And here's where I said, if you ever felt like you were going to start up smoking again, I would much rather you be honest with me than hide behind my back, smoking in secrecy and trying to convince me that you didn't start up smoking again. Andrea, in her warped rationalization, turned this into complicitness and acceptance of her smoking again, and decided to take up not the stupid tobacco cigarettes or the rolly cigarettes, but freaking Black & Milds. Now she's smoking a Black & Mild a day. We've got these duckbills all over the place that are just ridiculous. And the Black & Milds are worse for you than the other two things combined. Here's how we are at the present day.
So, there, please stop it. That's a weird noise. Anyway, the Black & Milds. You can buy them individually. If I buy tobacco, which I do roll cigarettes, or did roll cigarettes, see, and that's part of the process, I am not okay with having it be a past tense thing, because that is part of my identity. It is part of how I see myself and have seen myself.
It's not the 90s anymore. Who sees themselves as cool smoking?
Oh my. The fact that you think I was worried about what time frame it is or how cool it is.
Well, what kind of positive self-identity revolves around smoking?
it's not a matter of positive or negative. It's a matter of how I've processed things since I started smoking. And one of our Discord questions, which pertains to this, so we're going to ask it right now, was...
Premature Discord question!
Yes. That's from the normal thing we have going on, but whatever. Kris gets to see. I knew it! I freaking knew it! You knew he was going to do it! You knew as soon as we... You know what I mean now. You guys totally... You get it. So...
That somebody cares about you and doesn't want to see you hurt yourself with the cigarettes or the Black and Milds? Yes.
Okay. How did Andrea, me, start smoking? Emily wanted to know. So...
Some guy in a trench coat hiding outside of the schoolyard that gave them to you behind the fence, isn't it?
No, not really.
Girl.
So I have two
Puff on
stories.
this.
There are two stories of when I started smoking. There's the first time I ever tried it, and then there's the time when I actually started smoking. The first time I ever tried it was right after my parents announced to us that we were moving from Chicago to Iowa. And I was 10. Oh yeah. End of 4th grade. Oh, my sister, my brother, and I took dad's cigarettes, come on, didn't smoke, but dad did, and sat across the street, literally on our neighbor's, curb, and sat there and smoked. At our house. Waiting for our parents to come out. Waiting for them to address the fact that we were that upset that we're willing to just, what you gonna do? You already took away the one place you love. And granted, I, on and off, kids smoked, whatever, for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. When we moved to Iowa, I stopped. My brother and sister find out later on, years later, oh, they're still hanging out behind the barn, still smoking. Just they're badasses. Well, I'm totally not included. A middle child syndrome thing. And then when I went to college, freshman year, end of freshman year, at a party, a little upset with a guy that I had at one point been interested in and had, the normal freshman drama that you have with people that you don't know if you like them or not, but you definitely want to have something happen either way. And more than a little upset, and a friend of mine said, here, have a cigarette, calm down. And I did. And it felt amazing. And it was even better that he didn't like smoking. So it was a nice little kabam to him. Made me feel better.
So if I'm getting all this information correctly, you've never actually chosen to smoke cigarettes for yourself. You've done it as a spiteful lash out to other people.
Kind of.
Yeah, so you've hurt yourself to spite other people, and now you have somebody that loves you, and you're hurting yourself, which is hurting me.
I find it more as a way for me to process how I'm feeling that might affect someone else, but gives me a moment to step back and act as if I've got my own borderline between me and everyone else.
We need to work towards more healthier processes. Meditation, maybe? I've been dabbling in the field of meditation, and it feels a little bit better and helps me get my head clear. But, you've got a partner now, and we talk about the future, we talk about being together forever and these things, and, you're actively cheating us out of time together in the future, and it hurts and it's disappointing. And at the same time, not only are you potentially cheating us out of some of our time together, but you're making the end part of the time together potentially far more grueling and harrowing than it needs to be, because...
Can I say a couple things?
Sure.
First off, men die before women. You won't have to deal with it. Second off, you're in worse shape than I am, so I'm going to have to be dealing with you, old man. All of your breaking down. My back is hurting. I groan like an old dad. When I sit down, I got my cough.
I have physical bumps and bruises that are going to need you to have all your
own pillows I get to take care of, but men die first. So why are you acting as if you're going to have to take care of me?
No, men
when
die
in fact,
first.
I'm going to have to pay someone to take care of me.
Men die first when they're married to a healthy woman. Men don't die first when one of them smokes and the other one doesn't. You're throwing away your lead, your cushion. You're handicapping yourself to bring it back to even at best. So, The big nut here.
There's a nut.
Is that I've loved you for you for over a decade, and I hoped that the smoking chapter of your life would bring itself to a natural conclusion, and it did for such a decent period of time. Then you got onto this every damn Black and Mild is the last Black and Mild kick that just is a never-ending procession of Black and Milds, because they're sold in a single pack, so I can say it's the last one.
I know. Their marketing is amazing.
The Black and Milds are worse.
They didn't have to do anything.
Than the self-rolled
available
cigarettes.
as singles.
And that's not an argument to go back to the self-rolled cigarettes.
No, but I do have dreams about it sometimes.
So, you wanted to have this chat on the air.
Do you know what smokers have that non-smokers don't have? A smoker circle outside of every bar.
Black lung.
Restaurant. You know how easy it is to make friends out there?
It doesn't
like you're suddenly,
anymore.
you're not like a stranger. You're a friend. You're a comrade.
No.
You're a patriot.
No.
And you are a patriot.
You're a
Because you know the first cash crop of the USA?
You're a fellow
Tobacco.
social outcast.
Tobacco.
It's like, oh, hey,
And
you
you know
make
what
poor
else?
decisions too?
Rebels
Me too.
who brought the
That's why
tobacco
we're standing
seeds over.
outside shivering in the freezing cold, because we make bad decisions.
But
Got a light? I smoke and I
how
don't
many
even carry a
times
light.
have I met someone when we're at stuff? We're standing in there, neither one of us wants to go make friends with new people, but I go out for a cigarette, and suddenly I come back in with a, hey, I made a buddy there, I made a buddy there. And then we could go actually talk to them.
That's not the
because
smoker
we've already
fashion,
broken the ice.
No,
Like,
that's not the smoker
Yeah,
fashion.
there is.
The other
There is a
smoke is
smoker
the
mafia.
No,
People
the
don't know about because they don't like the idea.
The other smoke is the peace pipe that you smoke for friendship. The tobacco is the point.
Native Americans smoked tobacco in the peace pipe.
Great. Native Americans didn't have access to hundreds of years of research and data. Like, the Native Americans were going off of native instincts of just consume the land. They didn't have any data.
Consume the land.
Yes. Natural. Native.
Yeah.
Again, they didn't have any data, dear. So, now, what are you going to tell the audience and me about your smoking decision here? Like, are you going to make a bold commitment that we can all root for you here and support and cheer you on and you can give us updates on? Or are you just going to plow forward with your spite motivation and puff in our faces and just continue to consume Black and Mild after Black and Mild? What's it going to be, dear?
You know, I would love not to do the Black and Milds. I'd love to do the cigarettes. Oh, they're amazing. I'll let you know next week how it's going. The other day I went without one. I've gone a couple days without one and then had one again. It's not an off thing. And a lot of it comes down to how stressed do I feel at that time. And I understand that it is a mode of self-comfort, of being able to take a moment just for myself, to draw a line between me and everything else and just act as if I'm on my own island oasis, which
that's what smoking creates. Isolation.
And maybe that's what I look for sometimes. Because when answers need to be made, and I don't want to give them, because I don't feel comfortable in my full 100% decisions yet, I take a moment. And that is an easy way to make space around yourself. So I will...
Speaking to the person you were when you were smoking the cigarettes, you must have made an awful lot of life or death decisions on a daily basis, dear.
I think a lot. People who like to read books think a lot. And I think a lot. That's all. I am not as open as you are about talking about things. So therefore I process internally. And an easy way to do that is with the hand-mouth motion. Even doing that just felt nice. Oh. But I will let everyone know next week how it is going. As of today, I have not had any. We spoke about July 1st being when I officially stopped smoking. So I'm trying, because I have not had any tobacco yet today.
Okay.
I love tobacco, though.
We will.
I would love to invest in tobacco.
We will embrace that as a soft commitment to try to make it to next week.
We will try and make it to next week. I will let you all know. And those of you in Discord, if you haven't joined our Discord, go ahead and down there at the bottom. Sign up for Discord and you can yell at me or give me encouragement or just see how it's going. Or you could be a fellow smoker telling me, take it easy on yourself.
No.
I appreciate the people who are in the position.
Fellow smokers
who have tried.
That come and cheer Andrea.
Can
and keep
send me
smoking.
direct messages.
Any
because he
enablers
won't
will be
know.
booted. You'll be booted, you enablers.
He won't know
No.
because you can send me a direct message on Discord, and I appreciate
No
people
enablers.
empathizing.
No enablers.
Alright.
Alright.
I will need to find something else to take over that position.
We're going to move it on to actual Discord questions now.
Okay. Actual Discord questions. We have one other one. Excuse me, everybody. What is your favorite summer memory? Coming from Siobhan.
We grew up by the Great Lakes. In Buffalo, there was the Ontario and
Superior or Erie?
Erie and Ontario. And my grandparents, the same grandfather that despised smoking,
Grandpa Lou!
had a little tiny beach cabin out by in Angola, where it's a couple blocks from the beach.
It's not tiny. It's got like 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
A kitchen is in it. There's plumbing.
Yeah,
There's a porch.
but it's not a.
There's a living room.
It's not an everyday house. It's definitely a cottage.
Oh yeah, like during the winter
summer.
you have to fully winterize the entire thing
So
and be prepared for ice.
It was a quaint little cottage that got remodeled several times and always got a little bit bigger and better as the years went on. That was been in my family forever. And my grandparents and people in the neighborhood out there by the lakes, they would have beach parties all the time. Family reunions would be out there, mini family reunions, just a whole bunch of people and their friends and family out for the weekend, horseshoes. And my cousin and I used to collect all the pop cans, beer cans from everybody drinking over the entire party. And we used to collect so many pop cans and beer cans that we'd be able to make over the course of a weekend several trips to the local pharmacy to buy little $5, $6 games, like the little guns that shot suction cup darts at Target.
Get 2 liters of soda just for yourselves and candy, not to share.
No, it was always some cheap little toys in the toy section of the pharmacy. My grandpa would take. We cash in right next door would be the grocery store. We cash in all the cans, and we get $5 to $10 a pop, which is a lot of freaking cans, multiple times in a weekend. And we'd go and spend it on little toys and shit. But I always grew up like super excited to reach drinking age and be a part of these family parties and all of those type of things. But by the time I reached old enough to drink, all the participants of those parties got all too old, had too many kids, and the parties didn't happen anymore.
So you're telling me when you were a little kid, you wanted to get drunk? That was your goal in life, is to get drunk with the old people.
Get drunk. It was
to have a drug in your body that incapacitated you.
Old enough to.
What was it that looked so fun about getting drunk?
Because they all stayed up late. They played cards, and everybody's having drinks, and playing horseshoes, and going to the bar, and all of the stuff that the adults do at a picnic and a party. Couldn't wait for that to be my generation, and then by the time it came, everybody had moved on, and just not that many people came around to the beach all the time. So it was just smaller get-togethers and gatherings. But those were my favorite parts of summer, was the cottage, camping.
Cool.
That kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of Iowa summers?
Iowa summers. That would be every 4th of July we would go to our Aunt Bernadine's house. And she lived in 30 miles away in another town. And her house was on a hilltop that overlooked, she was still in town, but she just had an awesome location so that the lot across from her was open. And it overlooked the entire town. So when they did the fireworks, it was literally like we had a giant screen TV of just seeing that. So it was all of my mom's side, extended family, almost a family reunion, where we were the family that lined the blocks around with cars, and so many family members that we didn't even know who they were, but we knew somehow they were like third or fourth cousins, related to our great Aunt B, so they're all her kids too, and grandkids and everything. And the coolest part was, she taught us that if you take sparklers and a Cool Whip lid, you can crunch off the sparkler stuff off the little stick, and you put it on the Cool Whip lid.
This sounds dangerous.
And you take the snakes, the snakes that you start that also like extend and those little, So you can have all that broken up stuff on there.
And then you take
Aunt B taught us how to make your own firework that was safe as long as you did it in the driveway. So all the adults moved their cars out of the driveway about duskish, and we got to have our own little thing that we've been making all afternoon. And they were a little particular on which fireworks we were allowed to take apart and add into our pile of explosives.
So you just made a big pile of gunpowder and lit it on fire.
It was amazing! So freaking cool! Because we watch all the normal fireworks go, and then just as it was like that's getting done, we got to be in the driveway, and everyone got to take turns doing their own one, and there were different colors, and you would go shh. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And we had a cousin Danny who his dad would take him over to Nebraska, because Iowa has rules about what kind of fireworks you can have. Is it in Nebraska or South Dakota? But one of the two. They would drive out of state to go get other fireworks to be able to, they would then go shoot them off in the other empty lot across the way. It was like...
We used to have Roman candle shootouts where like 20, 30 of us would have Roman candles, light them on fire, and all run around shooting at each other, basically dodgeball with Roman candles.
No, we would not have been allowed to ever...
nuts.
Nope, we would have been...
It was flaming cold, and we gotta brush it off before it starts melting.
I think on the accidental times where one of those like little fireworks that's supposed to go pew, like fell over in the bottle and went at people, I remember people getting in trouble for that. Like, we got spanked in front of family and then shamed, publicly shamed. You don't mess around with fireworks.
Okay,
that would not have been allowed.
It is time for Bullet Blitzes, and you are going to go first this week.
Oh, okay. What is one thing you would like to learn to do?
One thing I would like to learn to do.
Mm-hmm.
Make animated motion graphics.
Wow.
I get the premise of how they're made, but the actual button pressing fundamentality, no. They look amateur every time I try to make motion graphics. So I would love to learn how to do that.
Cool. I want to learn how to change my own oil in my car. I think it's something that everyone should know how to do, and I don't like having to pay for that. Like, I literally want to know how to do it myself and do it myself.
Just unscrew the plug at the bottom, drain all the oil out, put the plug back in, and fill the engine back up with oil.
I'll watch a YouTube video on it and try and find where the parts are underneath.
You can watch me do it. Like, I literally know how to change oil.
Then why do we pay someone to do it?
Do you want to change the oil?
That's why I want to learn how to do it.
Because here's the thing. Well,
like you're saying, you know how to do things with the car, and you can make sure it's done right, but you would rather pay someone who you're never sure if they're doing it right.
Oil changes.
Like, we've had people leave oil filters off. We've had shit like that happen. And it's always, you have to trust the person doing it. And I've learned I don't really trust mechanics as much.
Back in the day, oil changes used to cost like $20. 1995, you get 20-minute.
Okay, so now in the day they cost $30.
No, now they're up to like $60, $70. So now it's actually worth doing it yourself, because prior to that, the cost of refilling the engine up with the oil, like 4 quarts or whatever it is, you're looking at $2.99 a quart. So you're looking at $12-15 worth of oil anyway, or you could pay somebody $20 to change your oil. So it made sense to just get the oil done at Jiffy Lube. But now that the freaking cost of an oil change has jumped to $60-70, it's one of those things where you got to do kind of run the math now on how much it costs for the oil to do it, and see if it's cheaper to just drain it yourself. But like I've changed oil in cars with my dad before in the past. I know how to do it. You get the old oil pan. Stuff.
Well, that's great that you know how to do it. I want to learn how to do it. Yeah. That was my bullet blitz.
Yeah, you literally just unscrew the plug at the bottom of the engine.
I will learn how to do that.
It's kind of like boats with their water
Do you have to
plug.
have your car rigged up, though?
No. You just got to
But how do you get under there?
Crawl underneath it. If you want to be able to go on a dolly that rolls underneath there, you're going to have to lift the car up a little bit. But if you just want to crawl underneath there and unscrew the cap and put the oil pan underneath it, that's all you do.
I'll learn how to do that myself.
Just walk away for 5 minutes, let it all drain out, put the cap back in, slide the pan out. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright?
Next.
What the? Third time's a charm around the road. Okay. So, we watched an interesting documentary on the moon landing this week. What's the biggest conspiracy theory that you think has substance?
So I have two of them. One of which I saw, one of which happened way long ago. Which one would be most appropriate?
You gotta tell them both to us now.
The 9/11 towers falling. So that morning, at that current time during college, I was doing babysitting in the mornings, like from 4 o'clock in the morning till dropping these two little girls off at elementary school, like 6-something in the morning. And after I dropped them off and got back to my campus housing, turned on the news like I always did, trying to get ready for like the class at 9 a.m., so staying awake, and literally saw, like, they just came on with the breaking news, like, when it came on with the first tower being hit. And then the second tower, saw it while I was watching the news, and then seeing them go down. Like, there was something very weird about how when it went down, it looked like you see on every show for a professional demolition. How it doesn't affect any of the buildings around it. Like, that was my honest-to-God biggest concern at that point, is this building's going to just destroy the city by falling all wonky everywhere. But it just...
How convenient.
Very weird. And I remember even people at that time on the news saying that that didn't seem right. Like, it just...
Building 7?
It didn't make sense that it would happen the way that it did without that being something how it was built structurally in case of something awful happening. Like, if that was a backup condition just to make sure they wouldn't destroy the city if there was ever an attack, that's one thing. But the full denial of it, that's weird because I saw it. Like, everyone saw it. It made no sense. So there's that, and then there's the JFK shooting, which, when you see the footage now, how did anyone ever have a question of if it was even possible to be in the library, which it made no sense from the trajectory of the bullet and how his head got, like, it didn't make any sense. Even when you watch the footage, it's almost as if everyone's playing a prank on each other, but being like, oh no, that's totally what happened. Like, just keep saying, yeah. So those are my two ones. What about you?
Well, those probably would have been my top two choices as well.
Victory.
So I will pick different ones. I think I think there's something to the chemtrails. The planes that release the white puffs out and dissipate over the sky. There's a lot of different conspiracy theories and ideas of what that is. All I know is that there are actual patents for chemical distribution systems attached to jet engines for when the planes are distributing out there. And the question goes, why was that even invented if that's not happening, if that's not being done?
That's how they spray the fields. Out in Iowa, for the cornfields and the soybean fields, like, they spray them with the pesticides and everything, so a low plane goes down and it literally...
That's for crop dusters. That's not for freaking commercial jet
Why
liners.
not? Is it really that hard to convert a smaller, basic technology into a larger version? No. That's like the most easy thing to do is you just pump those fuckers on the wings and you're good to go.
Well, the fact there's any kind of commercial need for commercial airliners to have chemical distribution systems attached to their exhaust makes me suspicious.
What if that's the P?
No, it's a long...
Like, you've heard about how they, like, do dumps of, like, all the solid waste. But what if that's like literally just
it's not,
all the blue urine and it just looks white up in the sky?
That to go across a whole skyline. And they're up so high it would freeze automatically anyway.
Maybe that's why it's white, because it turns into icicles.
No, it's not. And another one would be like based on this documentary, the moon landing. I don't have a full position one way or the other, but if you're just going by the circumstantial evidence, the argument that we didn't is a whole lot stronger than the argument that we did.
So do you believe that, wasn't Francis Ford Coppola, it was Kubrick?
Yeah.
Do you believe that he did use the soundstage that he had as part of... Or they had the soundstage first and then he used it?
There's another theory that I heard recently that I actually think is very plausible. And that is that we actually did go to the moon and made it there with the technology and all of that, but that the technology didn't exist to be able to broadcast and record the footage from the moon. So they did fake the video, and that's what they showed the audience, but they did actually accomplish going to the moon. They just, in order to have something to show, they created this secondary footage.
Like they were 1G, but they needed LTE in order to send it out, so
the
never made it.
The big things, like this documentary we watched was made in 2011, and I had seen a lot of different stuff on the moon landing, but this thing had a few different things that I didn't see in there. And one of the big ones for me was two different pictures. One was supposed to be from day one of the landing, and then the next one was supposed to be the next day while they were still on the moon, taken at a completely different location on the moon. And the day one picture had a picture of the moon landing in it, and the day two picture had no moon lander in it and just had a landscape. And coincidentally, all the features of both landscapes were identical to each other. They put the pictures over to each other, and the landscapes are exact. So where did
like rock for rock,
yeah,
shadow for shadow.
Where did the moon lander go in the second one? The other big one for me is when the moon lander came down and the flame was going to push up dust. Number one, there should have been some sort of crater or burn mark, something in the ground that pushed everything away.
From the thrust. On
top of that, it would have created a huge plume of dust and shit that came sprinkling and landing back down. But you look at the pads of the landers, and they're all pristinely gold-plated thing there, and there's no dust anywhere on any of that stuff. Ridiculous. The lighting
kind of like early Photoshop.
The lighting is one that's been beaten to death 1,000 times. You find me one pro lighting person in the entertainment industry that can look at the moon landing stuff and not find flaws in the lighting angles, and I'll show you somebody that doesn't know how to do their job right.
The flag that's waving?
Yeah. So none of this gets to even the state of the technology that existed at that point is basically equivalent to a freaking scientific calculator in today's terms. So, I don't know. It seems like a giant request to get and hurdle to get back there again for something that we seem to have done so many times so long ago. So those would be the two that I would throw out there after the ones you said.
Fantastic. Out of all of the reality TV shows, I'm talking even go back to the 90s. To the early ones. Mm-hmm. What one would you most likely be a contestant on or want to be a contestant on? What could you actually survive through? Like, think back to the original MTV ones.
So
all of them.
There's probably two right off the top of my head.
Okay.
The one that I just think would be fun as hell to be on, only as the person and not one of the daters, would be Eliminate. That would be awesome. And the other one would be American Gladiators. I always wanted to do the jousting, the competition. There was the football one where you gotta dunk the balls in the baskets and they gotta try to tackle you. Oh, dude, I would have been all about the American Gladiators back in the day.
I feel like we did road rules. Like, I think we actually, in our real life, did road rules. Basically. In the crappy RV, ours was even worse. Like, it was the indie version of road rules. And you got more confession than they ever were able to show you. So, I would take my current show, and that would be the Great British Baking Show. I want that one I know you have to be British to be in it, but I want the judges.
Well, they've got some spin-offs where they brought Americans over.
Yeah, but they don't have the same judges. And I think that you need those judges in order to get everyone to behave the way that they're supposed to. Because they're not taking any freaking grief. There will be no shenanigans here. Everyone is nice and friendly and just trying to make themselves some beautiful, yummy stuff.
Yummy stuff.
Beautiful, yummy stuff. That's all the world needs. If we all had beautiful, yummy stuff, we would be so excited. And Siobhan knows what I'm talking about. Siobhan has her own bakery.
Yes,
you know
we talked about that last week. We've got to have Siobhan or at least some of her baked goods on the show.
That would be awesome. So she understands what I'm talking about. Great British Baking Show. Everyone helps each other. It's about the best you can do yourself as opposed to keeping someone else down and comparing yourself to someone else.
Wow.
I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. Last bullet blitz of the show.
Oh, we got one more.
We watched the debates this week. The Democratic 2-day circus of 20 candidates in 2 days. We could do a whole show on the wackiness of these 20 candidates, but my question is, how would you come up with a different debate process or qualifier to streamline this down to just a handful of candidates so they have more time to speak and actually get their message across rather than this freaking, as Kamala Harris referred to it as, food fight where everyone's just yelling and shouting over each other?
Well, I blame that an awful lot on the moderators. That was 100%, the moderators are there to try and keep everything orderly, and they were just the weakest people in the entire world. Go ahead, just talk over each other, why not? There should have been a very simple, the first one does it, just treat it like a kid.
10 people.
No, you're done. You don't get to answer until you're the last one now. Because you couldn't wait your turn, and you're rude, and you're not being an adult. We don't do that to each other. Therefore, when we get to you, we will get to you. I don't want to talk to you until then.
10 people is too many. 20 is way too many.
Honestly, it should be 5 a night.
No. There shouldn't be no 2-night special on one party's debate system. If you can't limit it to your best 5 and get them up there talking, you guys need to get together in a room and talk some shit out more so. Because
Do you know what happens when that happens? With that mentality that you have to limit it at this point?
I'm not saying...
You know what happens? You get a whole Schultz
No.
situation again where you screw over someone who actually had the right track because you all are impatient. We have 2 years.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1.5 years to get this shit figured out before we have to make a decision. There is no need to decide now ahead of time that you can cut someone down because they don't have enough notoriety, enough branding and marketing to get their name out there, to let people
know. To have
know.
a chance this cycle, yes. You're just you're hurting
This
everyone
cycle?
else's chance. Yes. If you haven't reached a certain level of name recognition by this point, your odds of succeeding this cycle are slim to none, so start laying the groundwork for the next cycle.
Let's talk about name recognition.
Let's talk about the good...
Let's talk about Biden, because he happened to be a vice president before, because he's been in the press for so much for inappropriate touching and making people feel awkward, and technically not an assault, but not okay. Because he has the notoriety and name notice, everyone in every household has an idea of a little bit about him, but you know his name and his face. He gets to have time over someone who hasn't done anything inappropriate yet, who actually is trying something new. They don't get to be on TV because they don't have enough Twitter followers. Are you shitting me?
Let me give you a non-political example. I'll give you a Lord of the Flies example.
You brought up a political topic.
Everyone involved... Yeah, so let's refer to the Lord of the Flies as the Democratic. Everybody involved claims to have the party's best interest in mind. We want what's best for the party. We want the party to win. We want to defeat the guy in the office that we don't like. All about finding the best champion that can get that done. So if you're all on the same page that the party is above each of you individually, between the 20 of you, you should be able to come to a consensus which 5 have the best chance and put them forward this cycle. The fact you can't and the fact 20 of you want to step forward and say, it's me above the party, I want to run too, even though 20 other people have announced, that gets to a point now where you're creating so many divisive factions within your own party, there's going to be no ability for you to unify and put a true contender forward. So I don't agree with the party system in the first place for this reason, but you're literally creating a circular firing squad where you all have to tear each other down to rise above everybody else and to emerge from that as the person that attacked your fellow party members the most. It's just completely counterproductive to the end goal of your party having any chance of competing.
Or you could be the one who's actually worthy of the position and no one can tear you down.
Yeah, well, that person
Heaven
may be the first one to say...
don't get someone who doesn't have something.
And the person to me that would be the most deserving would be the person that stood up and said, you know what, 20 is too many for us to be at our strongest. I will step aside. And if their followers and their people...
And they'll willingly let you. They will let
Yes.
you, and you will be Bernie Sanders in 2016. You stepped aside because you thought it was what was appropriate to do for the party, which is what you're saying, a party.
And
Of fake ideals that changes from moment to moment depending on who is in the seat, who has been hired and getting a huge administration salary, depending on what they want to have happen. That is what Debbie Schultz-Wasserman did. She took control of it because she was in lead of a party.
Use Bernie as the example, the perfect example.
Someone who ran a party instead of running for the actual leadership themselves, who twinkles in the background and does their own backroom dealing, decides for everyone else who is appropriate to even be up there for an option.
It's deciding for yourself whether or not you're appropriate enough at this point in time for what the country needs. And 20 people, there's at least 15 of them that can look at themselves and say, I'm not as strong of a candidate as the other people in my party at this point in time.
And they will.
Bernie
Over the next few weeks, people will do that. They will endorse other people, which is the whole process.
Bernie is a perfect example of coming in when you didn't have a large brand recognition and awareness and using one cycle to put yourself in a position to be the front runner in the next cycle. So because he was in that top 5 in the first cycle, he's in better position to do it in the second cycle. Throwing all of these people into the mix waters the pool down too far to not be effective for anybody to get their true message across, and then it just becomes a popularity contest rather than a knowledge contest.
Throwing all these people into the mix means that there are many different things that people are focusing on as their cause, as what they want to fix. Which also means that we don't have 5 people who have the same 3 things that they want to fix. We want to fix jobs, we want to fix education, we want to fix the military. These other 18 people are bringing up all these other topics and forcing the main 3 or 4 to actually address it. But in your party, you can get silenced because no one knows you're asking these questions. Because it isn't being brought publicly to the attention. So it's actually forcing, when you have a larger party to begin with.
Candidates are getting to speak for 3-4 minutes in a debate that is getting silenced. It's too many to get their message across and to speak on behalf of the party and go forward.
Well, at the beginning, it isn't about the party. It's about the person who wants to run for the party.
It's never been...
Are your beliefs similar to a majority of people who also claim to be of that same party affiliation?
Andrew, we've been
If they're not, you don't get to be the Democratic leader. You don't get to have that representation, that candidacy.
We've been alive for basically 10 presidential cycles. And
you've gotten to vote for how many of them, and how many have you actually voted for?
There's never been actual 24 people in the freaking debate. That's absolutely ridiculous. It was a circus last cycle for the Republicans when they had 10 people in the debate.
They started with 15 to 18, I believe. They worked their way down to 13. Then they worked their way down to 10.
The most they had in a single debate was
7?
10. The most they had in a single debate was 10.
No, they had more than that. We saw them all on stage.
Yes.
Yes. We watched all of those. Kris, how many times have you voted?
Andrea?
How many times have you voted?
This conversation is not about that. That is a much bigger conversation.
If you don't vote, if you don't take the responsibility of voting and using your democratic right, how do you get to complain when other people make a vote?
Don't use that manipulative tool as an excuse. Because not voting, if it's a choice, is also voting. As I told you last year, if Bernie Sanders actually stood up and counted for a vote and was a presidential candidate, I would have voted for him and I would have registered to vote. The second there is a candidate that I want to willingly endorse and say, hey, I'm okay with this guy acting in my name, then I'll go ahead and do it. If Elizabeth Warren wins the presidential the Democratic national candidate, then I'll go ahead and register to vote. I have no problems endorsing. I might not agree with everything that she says, but I agree with her character enough that I have no problem stamping that name. So that's what it's about for me. And until I believe in a system that's not a paradigm of putting fake opposition against itself and giving you the illusion of choice, until I believe this whole thing's on the up and up, and which I think requires transparent voting, yeah, put my name, put all that on there. My vote, allow me to at least go and check my voting history for my entire thing with my social security number. Allow me to vote on my phone. If you want so much damn participation, why can I log into my bank account with my fingerprint and have it identify me, but I can't vote through my phone off of my biometric recognition? Like, you're telling me you want everybody to vote in the process, but in this day and age, we can't use biometrics to vote through my phone and get far more participation in the democratic process. Again, I don't believe in the system that I'm voting for. I don't believe I'm actually choosing the candidates. So until that such time that I have faith in that process, I'm not going to go ahead and complicitly engage in enabling some sort of evil political candidate I don't trust because they're slightly better than the other one. No. And I think the way this country has a revolution without blood in the streets, without a second civil war, is everybody either gets a second box to check or votes by not voting that we're opting out of the system. We don't believe in it. Create a new system of allowing us to vote where I can see my vote, where I can confirm my vote's tied to my biometrics, and I'll have more faith in your legal process, your system. Allow other candidates.
So you want the option of none of the above?
Yes. I want freaking.
Like, if a majority of people choose none of the above.
I believe
we don't have a president.
I believe the technical term is lack of confidence or something like that. So freaking. Just because these are the candidates doesn't mean they deserve to be president, because they're the only ones that are up available. And there's no true independent that can come along, because everyone else will blackmail you into thinking you wasted your vote because you voted for somebody you actually believed in. So, like, come on. That's horse crap. I'm not going to vote for somebody that's already enabled and has their loyalty to their party gang. Every decision they make is already decided by the party. They're not choosing right and wrong.
Should they make parties illegal?
I absolutely think parties should be illegal.
Or not necessarily illegal, but no longer a requirement.
It's blatant
or
collusion.
Not even a status. Like, you don't even get to say if you are of any party affiliation.
Democratic Party.
Like, it doesn't matter anymore.
Political parties are collusion. It's the consolidation of power. I won't have enough things to get done on my own, so why don't... It's basically like a reality show, making alliances and things for voting privileges. It's literally the same damn thing. So by default, in order for you to get political favor later on, you have to give political favor over here and vote their way on this stuff.
It does make it easier for all senators and congressmen to be able to say that they can't vote for something because it's not our party's line. If you took away the fact that there are any parties, it's literally your own conscience and the people who you are representing, what they want, as opposed to what you personally think will do best.
The whole reason you're going as a representative is because you're supposed to represent this segment of the population. And while this segment of the population might be the majority leaning towards Democratic side, not all of their choices in this segment...
Not every issue is going to be...
Not every issue for this segment of the population is going to be the same as it is for that Democratic segment of the population. You have to represent these people, not the party, this segment. And again, this gets again with technology. Representatives in government were sent there to vote on our behalf because every single one of us couldn't go to fucking Washington and cast a goddamn vote. That's not the case anymore. We want to have political votes. Send me a goddamn notification. Let me know it's time to vote, yay or nay, on political policies. And then you'll get actual real feedback of the population, of people's thoughts and controlling it. I don't need a representative to go get paid out by the freaking opiate industry, the pill poppers and the gun manufacturers, all these parties and lobbyists that go ahead and pay for their candidates. I don't need to vote you to be my representative so you can go and be beholden to the people that actually finance your campaign when I can go vote on the policies myself with the press of my finger. This shit isn't rocket science. It's not like I'm talking about the 21st century or the 22nd century type of things that'll hopefully happen someday. This shit could have been done 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago if they really wanted to. But I'm supposed to freaking lockstep, go to the voting booth and think I have any say in anything.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that might be one of the first times we've talked about politics on the show.
We used to in the past quite a bit,
but we've tried to avoid it to not be a trigger for most everyone. And yeah, so that happened. But hopefully that won't be happening often, everyone. Try and keep to the entertainment industry.
You brought up a point that in order for me not to get hit by a bus, I had to explain my position, that it's actually a well thought out, voluntarily chosen position and not just a choice of laziness or a disrespect to the people that have fought and died to protect this country. Because I absolutely do believe in the right to vote. I have no faith in my vote. So if you want to do something different in this country, to have me and a whole bunch of other people that are disenfranchised re-engage with the system, I'm all for that. Let's have that conversation.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to the next round of debates, which I'm sure will have less people involved. Maybe that crazy shit I'm out.
Fuck this shit I'm out. Don't mind me. I'm just
you know what though? He's funny in the way that Trump was funny on his side.
Those two debating
entertaining, but still crazy.
That would be epic. Watching those two debate.
I can see that happening. Alright guys.